Chapter 8. The glowing pink armchair was beneath me, radiating a magical warmth that felt deeply inappropriate for a hostage situation. For the next 20 minutes, the only sound in the room was the rhythmic thud of Sasha's boots as she paced back and forth across the thick lavender rug. She had scrubbed the worst of the soot off her face with a wet rag from a porcelain sink in the corner, but the water in the bowl had turned to an ugly shade of gray-red. It was a stark reminder of what she had just done in that library. The quick wash had only highlighted the dark, exhausted bags under her green eyes. She looked like a soldier who had been fighting for 3 weeks straight on 2 hours of sleep, running purely on adrenaline and dedication. I kept my mouth shut. I just sat there. My damp Snickers slowly melted into a puddle of dirty, freezing slush onto the pristine floorboards. I tried staring at the wall, but my gaze kept drifting back to the giant Hello Kitty plushie on the nightstand. Its soulless black eyes seemed to judge me for my absolute, fundamental uselessness. Back home, when I got stressed, I put on my headphones, fired up a video game, and shot creepers until my brain flatlined. Sasha, apparently, handled stress by melting interdimensional cops inside their own armor and locking herself in a childhood bedroom. "Stop looking at it!" Sasha snapped suddenly. She paused her pacing to glare at me. Her chest was rising. "I am not looking at it," I lied. "I am contemplating the absolute ridiculousness of my impending death. The plushie just happens to be in my direct line of sight." Sasha let out a long, ragged exhale and dug the palms of her hands into her temples. The fiery, terrifying warlord from the library was completely gone, leaving behind a teenager who was barely holding her fragmented world together with willpower. "You're not going to die, Max," she said. Her voice was softer this time, completely absent of the screaming desperation from earlier. She walked over and sat heavily on the edge of the pink bed. Her shoulders slumped, as if an invisible weight had just been dropped on her neck. "I promised I'd get you out of the fire. I meant it." "Yeah, well, your dad sounded pretty ready to toss me off a parapet if I look at a hallway the wrong way," I pointed out, leaning back into the neon pink. "And the vampire clearly wants to use me as a juice carton. You're outvoted." My father is..." Sasha hesitated. Her jaw tightened. She looked away, staring at the heavy tapestries. "He lost a lot recently. We all did. This castle used to be full of life. It used to be loud. Now it's just a heavily warded tomb. He's paranoid because if the department breaches these walls, we don't have the numbers to fight them off." I thought about the dark, miserable courtyard, the exhausted soldiers, and the sheer hostility coming from Lord Rimus. It was a different kind of dead than my apartment back on Earth, but the rot is all the same everywhere, it turns out. My parents were ghosts who stared at TV. Sasha's father was a ghost who stared at battle maps. "So, why risk it?" I asked, dropping the sarcasm for a second, genuinely trying to understand the madness. "Why blow up a library and drag me here? Vera said I was the key. What does the department actually want with me?" Sasha looked at the floor. Her fingers picked nervously at an old pink thread on her blanket. The Simeon stone isn't just an artifact, she explained quietly. It's the anchor for the entire corridor. The department has controlled it for decades, using to monitor every portal, every trade route, and every single person who crosses between the six worlds. If a world steps out of line, the department uses the stone to lock their doors. They starve entire populations out. They isolate rebellions and crush them. Okay, I said slowly, trying to wrap my mind around the sheer scale of it. And where do I fit into this interdimensional IT problem? The stone is ancient and it has a will of its own, Sasha said, finally looking up to meet my eyes. The glowing circle on my forehead gave a faint phantom throb, as if reacting to her words. It's starting to resist them. It's locking doors they won't open and opening doors they want locked. They're losing their grip on the worlds. Good for the worlds, bad for the cops, I summarized. Exactly, but the stone only fully responds to the bloodline of its creators, she continued, as her voice grew urgent. The department has been trying to force it to obey using artificial magic, but it's failing. If they catch you, they won't just lock you in a cell, Max. They will bind your soul directly to the stone. They will use your biological essence to forcefully stabilize the corridor, draining you like a parasite until there's nothing left but an empty husk. A heavy, suffocating silence fell over the pink room. The hum of the armchairs suddenly felt a lot less comforting. I swallowed hard. My throat was completely dry. So, I'm a magical battery. You're the master override, she corrected, leaning forward. If you learn how to use your bloodline, you could cut their connection to the stone entirely. You could lock the department out of the corridor for good. That's why we need you. You're the only chance we have at actually winning this war. I stared at her. The sheer, crushing weight of what she was asking settled onto my chest like a physical anvil. I failed my last physics midterm, Sasha, I said. My voice trembled slightly despite my best efforts to keep it flat. I can't even override my mom's parental controls on the Wi-Fi. The only thing I have successfully fought in the last year is the urge to fall asleep in Miss Petrova's math class. I am not a rebel leader. I am not the savior of the multiverse. You don't have to be a savior today, Sasha said fiercely. Her green eyes locked onto mine. You just have to survive. Before I could argue about how incredibly unqualified I was for survival, a sound ripped through the castle that made my blood run instantly cold. It was a horn, a deep, bone-rattling blast that echoed violently through the thick stone walls. The vibration traveled up through the floorboards and rattled my teeth. It was followed immediately by the frantic, chaotic ringing of heavy iron bells from the courtyard below. Sasha jumped to her feet, her face drained of all colors. The absurd pink glow of the room suddenly felt incredibly fragile, like a paper lantern caught in a hurricane. No, she whispered, her hands instantly ignited with bright orange flame. That's impossible. The shields should have masked us. The storm should have hidden our tracks. The heavy oak door of the bedroom violently shuddered. The lock clicked with a sharp snap, and the door was kicked open with enough force to splinter the thick wood and crack the stone frame. Vera stood in the doorway. Her fangs were fully bared, Her dark brown hair whipped into an absolute frenzy. Her glowing purple eyes were wide with pure, unfiltered panic. She wasn't carrying her usual aura of bored arrogance. She looked like a cornered animal. "They dragged the transit spike!" Vera yelled over the deafening roar of the alarm bells. "The department didn't just follow us, they brought a siege breaker. They're already hammering the outer gates." Sasha swore violently. The flames on her hands roared higher, casting long, dancing shadows against the pink tapestries. "Where is my father?" "Holding the front line, but the shields are already cracking," Vera snapped, grabbing the splintered frame of the door. "He sent me to get you. We have to move the kid to the basement vaults. Now!" I jumped out of the pink chair. My heart hammered, a frantic, terrifying rhythm against my ribs. My damn sneakers were completely forgotten. "Wait, they're here? Right now? How did they find us so fast?" "Welcome to the war, potato," Sasha said. Her voice dropped perfectly back into that lethal, terrifying warlord register. She grabbed my arm. Her grip was bruisingly tight as she hauled me towards the hallway. "Run,"